Hello, I'm Eileen McHugh with the BBC News. President Biden has promised that the first bill he will sign into law next year, if the Democrats retain control of Congress, will be to reinstate nationwide abortion rights. Mr. Biden told his party's governing body that if the Democrats won mid-term elections, he would enshrine into law the landmark Roe v. Wade ruling that legalised abortion but was overturned by the Supreme Court in June.
If you care about the right to choose, then you got to vote. That's why in these midterm elections are so critical to elect more Democratic senators to the United States Senate and more Democrats to keep control of the House of Representatives. If we do that, here's the promise I make to you and the American people. The first bill that I will send to the Congress will be to codify Roe v. Wade.
The man commanding Russian forces in Ukraine has said preparations are being made to evacuate people from the city of Kherson. General Sergei Surovikin has just been put in charge of trying to hold back Ukraine's counter-offensive, but has admitted that the situation on the ground is tense and quite difficult. He claimed that Russia's priority was to protect civilians. The President of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky, has said that Moscow's widespread use of Iranian-made drones in the current spate of attacks on his country was a symbol of the Kremlin's desperation. He said that despite the loss of life and damage to Ukraine's energy infrastructure, the attacks will not help Russia strategically.
We must
remember that the very fact of Russians' appeal to Iran for such assistance is the Kremlin's recognition of its military and political bankruptcy. For decades, they have spent billions of dollars on their military-industrial complex, and in the end, they bowed to Tehran to get rather simple drones and missiles.
Ukrainian officials said more than 1,000 towns and villages are without power due to drone and missile strikes. Gunmen have carried out a deadly attack on a hospital in central Nigeria, abducting a number of staff as well as patients and relatives. From Abuja, here's Isaac Khaled.
At least 2 people were killed during the raid on Gulu General Hospital. A resident told the BBC a 3rd patient died as they were being transferred to another health center after the attack. Niger is one of the states worst affected by a wave of killings and kidnappings for ransom by armed gangs in Nigeria. Analysts say the kidnappings of health workers could be a strategy by the gangs to have professional medical services in their hideouts.
A new study has concluded that 2/3 of female domestic migrant workers in Lebanon have been sexually harassed. Researchers interviewed more than 1,000 such workers who reported everything from unwelcome touching and kissing to abduction and rape. Lebanon's estimated 250,000 migrant domestic workers are excluded from labour protection laws. World News from the BBC. The Ethiopian army says it has made more gains as it pursues an offensive on several fronts against Tigrayan rebels. It said the towns of Almata and Korem had fallen without a fight. Earlier, the TPLF rebels admitted losing control of Shire, one of the biggest cities in the region. The Ethiopian government promised to use the airport at Shire to bring in emergency aid. The family of a prominent Egyptian activist, Alaa Abdel Fattah, have begun a sit-in outside the UK's Foreign Office in London in the hope of generating more pressure for his release. Mr Abdel Fattah was a major figure in the 2011 revolt that toppled Egypt's longtime autocrat Hosni Mubarak. He was sentenced by a Cairo court in December to 5 years in prison, accused of broadcasting false news, and has since been on hunger strike. The activist gained UK citizenship in April from inside prison through his British-born mother. US Border Patrol agents have rescued more than 100 Haitian migrants from a deserted island that belongs to Puerto Rico, a United States territory. US officials say people smugglers often drop migrants on Mona Island, which is uninhabited and barren, telling them they've reached Puerto Rico. Environmental groups in the Democratic Republic of Congo are warning that gold mining is threatening the habitat of the forest giraffe, or okapi. Katwina reports.
The okapi, a stripy-legged herbivore related to the giraffe, is found only in the jungle of northeastern DRC. Scientists estimate that there are only 30,000 left in existence. The country's Okapi Wildlife Reserve, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, is meant to protect the creatures. But environmental and human rights organisations say that mine companies are rapidly and illegally expanding their operations in the pristine forest along the Ituri River, which is also home to other threatened species, such as forest elephants and chimpanzees, as well as to groups of hunters.
BBC News.